separately, as you see here, and it's gonna cost you extra. Now, I was really hoping that I would love this new stand because the prior stand solution for the Gallery series, you may remember, was a pretty basic set of legs and kind of felt like a cheap afterthought. This is a more traditional looking stand, which I like, but that's where my appreciation stops because otherwise, I hate this thing. Yeah, hate's a strong word, but sorry, I hate it. First off, it doesn't feel like it fits right when you apply it to the back of the TV. Second, the screws seem inadequate considering how much weight this stand is responsible for, and they don't exactly go in easily either. Third, the TV on this stand is incredibly wobbly, like unacceptably so. That's both because of the flex where the stand meets the back, but also because the stand is designed to swivel, and while I like the swivel part, it increases the wobble factor. So yeah, this desktop stand, as LG calls it, needs to be 86'd and replaced with something much better. A TV this premium deserves something equally premium for it to sit on. And honestly, I've given LG a pass here in the past because really, the only reason you'd get a Gallery series was for the wall mount look it offered with the no gap wall mount you place up here in this recessed area. But now, as I'll discuss later, the G2 here is a higher performance TV, and some folks will want it for the performance, not just the wall mount. So this stand, it's gotta be better. Unfortunately, I'm not done complaining. I'm not a fan of the cable management on this TV or its stand. These clips don't really secure well, so if there is any strain on your cables whatsoever, they just pop right open. There's no satisfying click, and they're ineffective at keeping cables in place unless you have a lot of slack. Again, expensive TV. I expect better. Finally, and I'm almost done whining, the cover panels should be the same color as the back of the TV, and here, as you can see, they aren't. Also, the review sample I have here didn't come with the cover panel for the input bay, but that's just a product of the review sample program. I'm sure they're included in retail units. Oh, and one more thing, the raked back look this stand implements, I don't feel like it works here. It's kind of steep, and I'm actually wondering if something is up here because this just doesn't seem right. I'll ask LG, but we've seen the raked back look on Sony TVs, and not everyone was a fan then. And if this was intentional, I think folks are not gonna dig it on this G2 either. Okay, that's a lot of negativity, and I'm sorry, but I call them how I see them. The good news as far as the back of the TV goes is that it's loaded with 4 full bandwidth HDMI 2.1 ports, and the layout of the input bay is nice and spacious, although a bit hard to reach once the TV is flush against the wall. So get your connections done right the first time, because you're not going to be doing any HDMI cable hot swapping once the TV is mounted. Once we flip the TV around, I'm still not a fan of the raked back look from the side, but it's less noticeable when you view the TV dead on. That is, unless you happen to have ceiling lights right above it. In that case, it's angled in a way that might reflect those ceiling lights back at you, which leads me to the fact that so far the reflectivity of the panel is not exactly problematic in this room, but I can see how it might be in a room with some poorly placed bright light sources. On the other hand though, I kind of like the gloss a little. Matte screens are great in some scenarios, but maybe I'm just making this up, but I feel like the gloss adds to the richness of the image. I'm gonna have to think on that a bit more, but I'm just sharing my feelings here. Since I'm sharing my feelings, let me talk a little bit about the setup process. I think this could use a little refinement as well. The TV, when you get it started up, should be sensing what's connected to it. And if the source is directly connected, like an Xbox Series X or a Blu-ray player, it will label the input correctly. But in this setup, where everything is connected to a Marantz receiver and linked via eARC, it's not recognizing the receiver or labeling the input. Now that could be HDMI CEC failing us, so I'm not ready to just point the blame at LG. I also want to mention that the G2 supports ATSC 3.0, also known as Next Gen TV, which is great. So I connected an antenna, and when asked, told the TV I had an antenna, but that I did not have cable, and then it starts scanning for channels. Here's the problem. Despite telling the TV I did not have cable, it spent several minutes scanning for cable channels anyway. Scanning for next-gen TV channels via cable especially took an agonizingly long time. I mean, why ask me if I'm using cable or not if you're just gonna ignore the answer? Look, I'm sorry if I seem negative. I'm not in a bad mood, I swear. It's just This is why we do unboxings separate from reviews. If there are any surprises, we'll catch them and we'll talk about them here. So I hope you find this info valuable. Anyway, outside of those two setup issues, overall the setup was super simple. And I like that when I pick a picture mode preset for SDR or HDR in one app, it applies to all the other apps, even though you have to repeat that process when you go into your HDMI inputs. Otherwise, WebOS is still fine. One improvement I still appreciate, holdover from the C2 review, is quick access to the last used input from the home screen. Plus, you get an input button on the Magic Motion remote, which is more than I can say for Samsung's TVs, and you can even use voice control to access your input options. You still get ads on the screen, but you can tell the TV not to play audio for those ads, and that's not just for the home screen, but autoplay thumbnails for Netflix and YouTube can also be muted. Now, as for first impressions on picture quality, see the smile on my face? I have nothing but positive things to say so far. First off, the LG G2, without a doubt, is a perceivably brighter OLED TV. Like, I watch an LG C1 almost every day, and there is no question this G2 here is brighter, more vivid, and just crisper. And it isn't just about the bright HDR specular highlights either. Color brightness is also visibly improved. And that's hugely important because when we talk about QD OLED, we talk about its overall brightness, but really hone in on its color brightness as being a distinct advantage. And when we talk about mini LED backlit LCD TVs, we're again talking about overall brightness and color brightness / color volume. The LG G2 with its next gen Evo tech and its heatsink is bringing something super desirable to the table. And I think it's gonna compare nicely to the Samsung S95B and Sony A95K QD OLEDs or the Samsung QN90B mini LED TV. But, and I think this is super important, the worth and the value of this TV is not gonna come down to measurement comparisons and purely objective analysis. Subjectively speaking, I mean, just watching it, it looks gorgeous, and it is no doubt the best OLED TV LG has ever made. Pair all of that with the fact that LG's been at this a long time and has its tech really dialed in, I think we're already seeing a strong case for purchasing a G2. As I've pointed out, it's not a perfect TV, but I